Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
So tonight we'll be reviewing a new movie that just came out this last month called Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destroyer. Oh, wait, the Destiny, sorry.
Dial of Destroyer? Whoops.
Sorry.
That's a slip of the tongue.
Sorry.
Actually, I'm going to qualify something here. We actually do these a few days or a week or two ahead sometimes, okay? So we're actually reviewing this on the 9th of July, and we saw it a couple of days ago.
Yeah, we saw it on a premiere at a theatre that just...
An advanced booking?
Yeah, advanced booking.
Advanced screening, I mean.
Yeah.
So we saw it not long after it came to Australia, but before it started in the cinemas.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, by the figures I've seen so far, I normally do this a little bit later on, but in 1 week it's made $127 million. I mean, Sarah said, it's not all about the money. Yes, it is. If it can't pay for itself, it's the end of the Indiana Jones and the studio. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
this is technically the final in the franchise,
it's
according
have
to them.
Indiana Jones, he'll be the next archaeological dig. They'll be digging him up.
Well, true,
Yeah,
true.
whatever.
Anyway, so you guys understand, this is the final in the franchise, and according to some people were not dissatisfied with this Crystal Skull one.
Can we talk about this later on at the
I'm
end?
just saying, Mike, a lot of people were dissatisfied with Crystal Skull because of the artifact, the Crystal Skull thing, and the fact that it deals with, UFO stuff.
Well, the Crystal Skull, yeah, but this here is actually based on a real artifact, this one.
Yeah.
However, they've thrown this time thingy into it, but actually it's not far from the truth, even though it's been embellished for the movie.
Yeah, and
Yes.
speaking of embellished, this makes me think of the Tomb Raider, because there was mention of in this movie where they had to find the artifact in two parts, and Tomb Raider did the same thing.
Well, there's another point too. I mean,
Which is
this movie actually starts off at the end of the Second World War when the Nazis are stealing all the treasures and stuff,
Right.
and trying to get them out of Germany when the Allied troops are getting in there, and that's where the movie actually starts. And it does a jump for 20 years,
Yeah.
into the future to about 1969 or something or other, when Henry Jones Jr. is an older man getting ready to retire from his university duties.
Yeah, it's interesting thing, Mike. The university, he worked in Washington, and now he's in New York, which is a bit interesting. Maybe he was transferred. I don't know.
Well, you go where the work is.
Maybe.
I've lived in Sydney. I've lived in Brisbane. I've gone where the work is. I was living in Brisbane happily. They lost my work and money, and I had to go back to Sydney to get work. That's about 1,000 kilometres away. Now America's a bit bigger, but
Was it Washington or Massachusetts? I wasn't sure.
No, he was at Washington, I think, in the early movies, I think. And now he's wherever he is, New York, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. It's supposed to be New York because that parade in the beginning was supposed to be in New York, but they've actually filled it somewhere else, in Ireland or somewhere, because of the older buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
So you guys know, there's a lot at the beginning there's CGI stuff, and they tried to recreate the old Indy from scratch.
And too, it didn't look too bad.
It wasn't too bad.
No, CGI, I mean, when you can make a CGI image of somebody, or manipulate it, and make close-ups and make it look good, I'm not complaining. Yeah. Okay, so it's come of age. It's actually doing something useful instead of making a cheesy aeroplane fly across the sky or something or other.
Or getting a younger actor to portray you with a little bit of makeup.
CGI.
I know, I'm just saying, Mike.
When you get CGI, get a cheesy aeroplane fly across the sky, it looks like it's CGI. But no, this looks really, really good. So yeah.
Anyway, so let's dive into the directors, producers, and the writers and stuff.
Now, Sarah's going to moan and groan here in a minute. Produced by Kathleen Kennedy. Come on, moan. Okay. Frank Marshall and Simon Emanuel.
Moan.
Directed by James Mangold.
Moan.
He did. See what I mean? I don't know why we're bothering tonight. Okay. Written by, I moan now? Yeah, right. Okay, Jez Butterworth, John Henry Butterworth, David Cope and James Mangold. Oh, he wrote it and directed it. Okay, that's good. Okay, obviously based on characters by George Lucas and Phil Kaufman. And guess who's been in it again? He won't say. I'll get on to that in a minute. Now, this is the part. I love money. Money. Show me the money. Okay, right. Okay. Budget was about maybe 300 mil, maybe more than that, okay? Box office in the first week is about 172 mil. 1 week's takings. 2 weeks will probably have paid for the movie. And then hopefully it goes on and makes a lot more money for the studio. Obviously, we're talking about the production company, Walt Disney Pictures and Lucasfilm.
Snore.
It's going to be like that all the way through. You know, you can see it coming, can't you? Distributed by Walt Disney Studios and Motion Pictures. That's all. Yeah. Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. Okay. Yeah. What more can I say about it?
How about the stars?
A few people. Guess who's in it? Come on, take a guess. Harrison Ford's in it. Wow, man. Okay.
I wonder who the CGI figure would have been for his when he was doing the body jobs for that one.
Anyway, Harrison Ford plays Indiana Jones, obviously. And now he's offside a female antagonist, protagonist, whatever. Is Helena Shaw, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And she is Indiana Jones's goddaughter. Goddaughter. And she goes by the name of Wombat. I don't know what the hell they call a wombat for.
Well, you called me other names. I don't know which one's the worstest.
Yeah, well, I never called you a wombat. A wombat's a little fat little critter who's blind and spends all the time digging tunnels underground. She doesn't look anything like that.
Maybe they went to Australia and that's where they came up with the name Wombat.
Anyway, now, the leading antagonist.
This guy I like very much.
Mads Mikkelsen plays Jürgen Voller, a former Nazi during World War II, had been hired by the NASA to do some Apollo moon landing stuff. But he was a very, very wise man, but he was a closet Nazi still while working in the US of A. So the actor himself.
He also starred in the TV series Hannibal, I think it was. And
I haven't seen the series.
Well, Mike hasn't anyway, but I heard about it, and I think that I do like the fact they put this guy in as the villain in this movie.
He makes a good villain.
He makes a good villain.
He brings that Nazi sort of feel to
I almost wish they could have used him years ago, or maybe when they did Crystal Skulls. That would be so cool. Anyway, go on, Mike.
I'm going to mention just a couple of other people, because other bits other people just running around ever decreasing circles. So, but we've got Antonio Banderas plays, I wouldn't say a cameo, but he plays for a short period of the movie. He's a boat captain and a deep sea diver.
Yeah, just a co-star role.
Co-star, but it's somewhere in between a cameo and a co-star. It's a short role for you, about 10 or 15 minutes of the movie. John Rhys-Davies, he comes back as Sala for a bit of a
again co-starring or special guesting.
A special guest, bit of a cameo at the beginning and the end of it. Toby Jones plays a friend of Indy's, another archaeologist. He has a short part, but I thought I'd just give him a mention. And lastly, but not leastly, we have our beautiful, nice lady, Karen Allen, playing Marion Ravenwood. Now, she's only got a short part at the end of it, but it puts the story together.
Yeah, so, I heard from online, since this came out, the Indiana Jones movie, she actually was disappointed that she didn't play a bigger role in this movie.
Hoping to get a bigger role, but didn't fit into the story.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Get her out of the nursing home or something. Really, come on.
Well, I mean, she probably wanted to be part of it.
She was in Crystal Skull, but Crystal Skull was about 20 years earlier or something or other,
Anyway...
whatever
the scriptwriters were thinking at the time, they probably didn't put her in the equation because they have an idea in their heads and they wanted to deliver the idea. So that's what they did.
But you can't make everybody happy. Okay. No. Anyway,
I wasn't even sure how the actor Salah, who was playing him, how he would have felt if he stuck around for the entire movie, and instead of just his two scenes.
What would he have done?
I don't know. I would have loved it. Like he said in one scene, he wanted to come back and. Come and
help him. Because he was bored. Salah has been relocated to America.
Yeah.
Because after the war, Indiana Jones helped him immigrate and get his family into America and improve their lot in life.
Get them American visas and
everything else. And Salah's a cab driver in New York. Gee. It's just like here at the moment. We've got all these foreigners driving our cabs.
Oh, don't be rude.
No, we're not. No, it's really funny because we do have a lot of foreigners here. Because they come to our country and they can't get ordinary jobs straight up, so they drive cabs.
True.
Funny, isn't it?
Anyway, shall I dive into the story now? Because we've
been talking about everything else, might as well.
So the story takes place back in World War II.
Right at the end of it.
Getting close to the end of it. And at this time, Indiana Jones is caught by the Nazis, no surprise.
Okay.
And they're about to lose the war. Well, lose. Because Hitler is going into hiding, we think.
Well, actually, it's about 1944, supposedly, so I think it's just when things are starting to go pear-shaped, I think.
Yeah, all the Nazis are running around knowing deep down they're going to be very soon invaded by the Allied troops and everyone else that comes into it.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're about to shuffle all their artifacts into this train that's called the Golden Train. According to urban legend, which is what happened in World War II, the enemy soldiers, the Nazis, they actually took treasures the artifacts, and load them onto this train, and I don't know what happened to them after this.
Well, I think got on the submarine and went to South America for the guys. Yeah.
Anyway, so they plan on hanging Indy, and all that stuff, because he was on the trail of an artifact
which they wanted for the Fuhrer.
Yeah, it was sort of the spear that was pierced the side of Jesus, and they think it's a spiritual, magical relic.
Yeah, and if they've got it, no army can beat them and stuff, all the usual rubbish, like the Ark of the Covenant sort of stuff. The first movie.
It's the usual crap. Anyway, I don't even know 100% whether or not that particular spear is, where Jesus got speared by it.
They wouldn't know his spear. It was just a soldier's spear, for crying out loud. It was like, we will keep this for posterity. No, I shouldn't think so. Yeah,
they probably didn't even keep the rag the clothing that Jesus wore. I mean, I remember they betted on it in the Bible and yada yada. But aside from that, they probably turned it into a rag and just used it to mop up their drinks. My theory.
When you think about it. We are digressing here.
I know.
We should be telling a story about the movie.
Okay, so anyway, he's about to get hanged, but luckily enough, a big bomb, I think what they call it,
just a bomb.
Gets them, drops down of the plane and crashes into the building.
It goes boom.
Boom, and then Indy eventually, he tries his absolute hardest to get out of the noose.
He gets out.
And he eventually does. And his friend Basil Shaw, he gets caught by the Nazis in the woods, and they take him onto the train, and they ask him serious questions like, why are you here? Why are you on the trail of this spear? And of course he explains that we are archaeologists and we were just trying to preserve history. Meaning, he also reveals to them that this artifact has no magical significance.
Well, that's what he says.
That's
the
what
Nazis
he says.
Don't believe him because they believe in the spiritual stuff.
Of course, when Indy gets on the train eventually, after a few run-ins with transport problems, he eventually discovers that the spear and some other artifacts are fakes. We don't understand why. And what happened to the real ones?
Who knows?
It's not really important.
I don't know.
Anyway, the Voller, the guy who's their sort of head scientist or one of the scientists on board, tells them about an artifact that belongs to Archimedes. That's Archimedes' dial, I think.
An I knew what it was. I can't say it now.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a dial, and it's sort of like a clock of sorts. Anyway, he tells them about how this artifact could turn back time. Of course, it's in half, meaning you cannot use it anytime soon. Anyway, eventually, Indy...
It's called an anti-cathera, and it's actually a real thing they actually found in an archaeological site, I think a sunken boat, and they they found it some years back, and it's a real item.
Anyway, Indy helps his friend Shaw, and he gets the dial, and they escape the Nazi train, and of course the train gets... the bridge gets bombed out, and that causes them to jump overboard into the water, obviously. And they eventually head back to wherever, and then we cross over to, say, back into 1969 or 1967, I'm not sure.
69.
And this is the point of where Indy is living in a very rundown motel or hotel or whatever.
Right, yep.
And he's living with some noisy neighbours. It's the 60s, bear in mind.
Late 60s,
yeah. Anyway, he's on the verge of retirement. No one in his class cares about archaeology at this point.
No,
it's probably just
boring.
Unlike the Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he got a lot of students in his class, and they're all
girls.
In this one timeline, he is the least boringest of teachers, or least interested of teachers anymore. So the students are no longer interested in his teachings.
Well, as far as I can see, they sign up for the class, they didn't get the money's worth, hey?
Yeah.
They're sleeping, looking at the windows, bored.
Boring.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they seem to be more interested in the Apollo 11th landing, or supposedly the Apollo landing, whatever. Meaning they're more excited about
moon landing.
About the astronauts landing on the moon than Indy's lecture. Anyway, Indy gets a good retirement party, and he's given whatever that thing was he was given by one of the students.
Yep.
And he gives it to some man on the street, saying, "Here you go, don't want it."
Yeah, his life is going to turn the crapo.
Yeah. He goes to a bar, and there he meets
a young lady,
Helena Shaw, who's the daughter of his old colleague, and she wants him to help her find the Archimedes dial thing, whom her father and him have discussed on one night, and her father wanted to destroy it for gosh knows reasons. And there's a bit of flashbacks in this one, a little bit, which is unlike George and Steven Spielberg. They never do that. It's mostly with George and Steven, it's all word of mouth. No flashbacks to the past in their movies. Anyway, that's where it's different in this one. So anyway, back to this. She wants the dial, and so she takes her to a place where, I guess, inside the school, where he hid it inside, underneath some old what do they call it? Knife heads?
Arrowheads. Yeah.
And he shows her to it, and explains that his colleague Shaw sent him lots of notes about the thing, and he kind of became obsessed with
to the extent of going a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, soon enough, some people who came from Void, who turned out Void is now working for the Americans, helped with the Apollo landing, the astronauts going to the moon. And from what Mike has told me, a lot of the German scientists, after they left...
after World War II ended, a lot of European scientists, including Germans and I believe Jews and other people, maybe Polish guys, the better scientists were invited to come and relocate to America and be their leading scientist. Yeah. So when you think about it, America didn't have the scientists in their country to anywhere near as good as all the ones in Europe put together. Yeah. They still had some good ones, but all in all, they knew there's a lot of smart people, professors and whatever, who were in Europe during the time of the war.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
they got them.
Yeah. So he wants guys to go search for the dial, and Helen Shaw too, because he suspects that she knows where it is. So they follow her and Indy to the university where they store all the archive stuff, and he shows her the dial and he explains the situation. Of course, the guys appear along with an American agent, a lady agent.
A CIA agent, if you will.
Yeah, and then all things start going a bit shaky. And Helen Shaw steals the dial and she breaks a break for it. And Indy has to deal with both a CIA agent and a couple of the other people who are working with her. And of course, he finds his colleagues shot and dead. He's the dean and his secretary are both dead.
Yep.
And he tries to call the police, but he gets caught and he gets dragged off. Very unlike Indy, because usually Indy would not just ring in the police, but not especially in a place when these guys are still hovering.
Someone let out to the newspapers and the police that he was one who actually killed the people at the university.
Yes.
So he's sort of on the run at the moment too.
Yeah. Anyway, Indy eventually he gets away from these guys during the parade and a bit of a demonstration, and he was able to get away using a horse belonging to one of the policemen. The policeman was unreliable. He was, or something.
He
didn't
know what was going on. Yeah.
No,
you can't get good help, can you? No.
Anyway, he steals his horse and he makes his way down through the parade, and then we get a chase scene. There's a lot of chase scenes in this Indiana Jones. Like, there's nothing else you could do except chase one another.
Why not?
Anyway, soon enough, Indy was able to head into the subways, and he tries to avoid the bad guys, as possible. He then meets up with his friend Sala, and Sala gives him the notes of Helen Shaw. As it turns out, she's a registered archaeologist, but I think she also sells the bits under the table.
Yeah, she's been naughty. She gets antiquities and she sells them to the highest bidder.
Yeah, so she's in Tangier, I think. That's it.
You're going to Tangier, yeah.
Yeah, where she's going to sell it to the highest bidder at this hotel that's run by her ex-boyfriend.
Or his dad or somebody.
Yeah. Anyway, so Indy wants to head there, and Sala tries to invite himself along, but Indy tells him, you have a life here, you should not come along, and stuff like that. But
not very safe.
Yeah, of course. He eventually heads off, and we get the whole airplane sequence thing, the plane stuff. We also get the flashback I mentioned to you guys. Anyway, soon enough we are in Tangier. There we meet Teddy, a little boy who fantasizes about being a pilot, I think.
He's a bit like a short round, but a bit taller, a bit a different nationality.
Yeah. He has a similar backstory too, which I think...
Yeah, street kid, rah, 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 rah,
Yeah. Anyway, so Indy arrives at the hotel and he listens in on the auction and he tries to invite himself in, but these guys don't really... It's a private auction. Yeah. Of course, he tells them that this artifact is not, worth taking because you're going to be looking at a death sentence.
Because there's somebody after it and they're going to kill the owner of it to get it.
Yeah. Anyway, the bidding continues, and eventually the bad guys arrive and they try to take the doll, which they do.
Bugger.
And then we have another chase scene, guys,
Yay.
where Indy and Helen and Teddy, they ride in this golf cart type car.
I think they call it tut-tut or something.
Whatever.
I think they got a motorcycle engine in it. It's got two wheels at the back, one wheel at the front. Mm-hmm. I think it drives, pretty much like a motorcycle, but it's also got a reverse gear in it, surprisingly.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Anyway,
so the chase bassoons. Aside from chasing these guys, we are being chased down by her ex-boyfriend who wants her head, or at least her father wants her head.
The rest wasn't too bad.
According to her, yeah. And of course, Indy's a little annoyed at her, and he brings up her father, saying, "How do you think your father will feel about the way you're acting and all that stuff. I hate the fact she's so obnoxious as her character.
Supposed to be. That's a role.
Well, she's not bringing anything to the table.
No turns of endearment here, hey. Right,
Nope,
okay,
not on this one. Soon enough, the chase continues, and eventually they try to get the dial back. They eventually separate, and they realize that they need to they have to go to the ocean depths to get a special key to find the second piece. Of course, this is going to take them underwater, so they have to get someone with a boat to take them there. Indy suggests a friend of his, Raul.
Whatever, that guy.
Anyway, they then head that way, and eventually they arrive there, and Ronaldo.
Yeah,
I think I remember a friend who did their own fan version of Indiana Jones, and I think they use the same name.
Why not?
Which is odd. Anyway, so moving on. So Indy and his friends, they head onto the boat, and they head on the way to the spot. Of course, here Indy and Helen, they talk about the dial, and she asks him, what would you do with the dial and stuff like that? And Indy says if he had the dial and he was able to travel back in time, he would go back to the time when his son was enlisting to join the army or join the vets to fight in the Vietnam War.
You don't join vets?
Okay, not vets, sorry.
Join the army.
Joining the army to fight in the Vietnam War. And he would have told him that he would have gotten killed, and this would break his mother's heart and break their marriage up.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, when I heard that Matt was not returning, I felt disappointed. I thought he would at least come back. If not walk in his father's footsteps, he would be doing something else with his life.
A male stripper or something rather, or just something interesting.
Something a little bit better, like, I don't know, maybe the actor. I wouldn't even mind if they replaced the actor, if that's the problem, if the actor didn't want to return. I mean, I'm okay with that sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with recasting when it comes to this type of thing. Anyway, so he's a little upset that he lost his son, and I think Indy at this point, he's lost a lot of things. He's lost his wife, he lost his son, and he feels like I guess Wombat is the last piece that he wants to continue to keep, obviously. But unfortunately, he doesn't know how to keep his life together at this point in my mind. At least that's what I think. Anyway, so they eventually arrive at the spot. They dive under the water. They find the artifact, but unfortunately it's guarded by a swarm of eels.
Yeah, yucky. They might taste nice, but not very friendly.
They could bite you, and then what?
And when there's lots of them too. But
Eventually,
very hungry.
The bad guys arrive. They make siege on their boat, and they kill the crew and kill the captain. Sad, that is, especially how Antonio Banderas had only a few short scenes.
Yeah, it's okay. He wanted to be He wanted to be in an Indiana Jones film. He was for a short period. He couldn't play Indiana Jones, so get over it.
I'm sorry. I feel like how he was given the short rope, which I feel like that's an annoying
I'll
thing.
give you a short rope in a minute, and I'll slap you with it.
Anyway, so Helen tells them that this this thing that they found is in codes, 2 codes, I should mention.
Yeah, she mentioned some word, whatever.
Of course, they think Indy will be able to translate, but this is not something he knows of. Anyway, they try to use the captain as their leverage, but of course, he couldn't help, but eventually the guy gets shot and dies, obviously. And then Helen steps forward and says, I'll translate for you. So she starts translating, but it's a way of trying to, to keep them distracted while she, in turn, gets some dynamite out of her pocket and Indy lights the fuse. And then they all lit the fuse, and then Indy and Helen and Teddy quickly jump onto the enemy's boats and gets away. There we find out the thing they found is... Well, it turns out it's they make out it's wood, but it's not wood actually.
It was the thing they found when they went down the wreck was an instruction on where to find the other part of the etheric and whatever it's called, that thing. Now, the thing is, it was supposed to be wax over wood, but it felt heavy, like there's something inside it.
Yeah.
So the outer casing of the wax had some information, but was misleading information. But the true information was actually on the inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Indy takes out some alcohol, and then he lights
Sets fire to it, and it melts all the wax, as it would.
Yeah, of course. When Helen sees it, she thinks, "Oh, this will definitely be able to give
we
up.
Can flog this,
we
and
can flog this. Make
a few dollars. Weights in gold."
Indy
blah, blah,
remarks again, "This belongs in a museum." Where everything.
I've heard that before somewhere.
Gee, why can't they think of something else, guys? I swear, sometimes the new writers in this are kind of copying the original text as much as they possibly can get away with. I don't know.
I don't know. I've got a bad feeling about this. He didn't say that, did he?
They soon arrive in Sicily, I think it is. Is it?
No, Sicily, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, they soon arrive there, and they begin to get stuff together. And, of course, Teddy gets kidnapped by the baddie guys.
Yeah.
Of course, Helen and Indy, they head towards the Acropolis, and stuff like that. And they head down to the caves of where Archimedes is probably dwells, supposedly.
Acropolis isn't in Sicily. It's just an old ruin, a temple.
Okay, it's an old temple, whatever. It looks like the Roman, Acropolis.
It looked like the Acropolis, but it
looks like
that style of building. Okay, yes. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think too many of the buildings would look like that.
Yes, they do. They made them that way back in those days.
Anyway, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, they soon head down to Archimedes' crypt. I mean, to the cave, and they, after a few solving of clues and stuff like that,
as usual,
they soon find his crypt, and he's in the coffin. Here's the interesting thing: on the side, there's there's carvings, and we see a phoenix with airplane propellers on it.
Yeah, funny.
Huh? And then
Helen sees that. She's very clever. Yeah,
it is confusing.
Wait a minute.
Anyway,
and what was Archimedes wearing in his little bed?
Oh, when we get to as they open the box, they see Archimedes lying there in his skeleton form, and we see on his wrist a modern day pocket watch for that period.
Wristwatch, not a pocket watch.
I mean wristwatch. Sorry, guys.
Modern for 1969.
Yeah, wristwatches were not made until
Swiss made.
Yeah, many years later. And he is a little confused about this, but they do find the second half, and eventually the bad guys arrive, wheeling guns as usual, and they take the artifact and they start putting the pieces together, and they also find another piece and they put it in. It looks like the little piece reminds me of a compass.
There's a centerpiece, which activates it, I think, or helps it work.
Yeah, it starts moving, and before you ask me, no, we don't start going to start traveling back in time just yet.
No, you've got to program it.
Yes.
And this German guy's got a rough idea on how to do that. Yeah.
Yes. Whatever notes Watsi and Archimedes have up their sleeve, it's all there. Anyway, so they get into a quick scuffle, thanks to Teddy.
Scuffle.
Teddy eventually escapes them, and he swims for his life. And eventually, he does help Helen get away. But Indy gets shot in the shoulder, I think, or near, or roughly,
in the shoulder. Upper chest, left-hand side.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to think he was shot in the heart, but I could be wrong.
No, they missed the heart. They got him in
the...
Yeah,
so anyway...
Just below his shoulder,
And like usual, they say, let's take Indy along for the joyride.
He'll have fun here,
Think that they'll mock him saying, we won, you lost, blah, 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 the usual crap.
Yeah, sort of rubbish,
I thought they'd probably at least leave him there and then try to...
Let him die peacefully,
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, they take him into their van, and
they're using an old airplane from World War II vintage, so they wouldn't be able to place when they land.
Yeah, they even dress up in their
old Nazi uniforms. Actually, you said something to me that German guy, you think he was going to try to take over from Hitler? Yeah,
Yeah, it seems like his plan is become the next Führer.
Well, to get rid of the old Führer.
Yeah, see, his plan...
He made a comment to Indiana Jones a little bit before this. He said something like, "You guys didn't win the war, the Führer lost the war." And I've been saying that for years.
Yeah, see...
And he's got the same thing saying, if I get rid of the Führer and I take over, I'll win the war.
Yeah, see, that's his plan. Like, get the Führer killed and have someone else take over.
No, him. He wouldn't take over.
Yes.
Because he had a high rank.
Yeah, he thinks that he's the brainiest person, so he thinks...
was a smart man.
And he thinks with
and
him...
He also knew history. He knew how things worked out, so he could actually use that to his advantage.
Yeah. Well, anyway, as they say, you cannot rewrite history.
We can try.
Anyway, so they get onto the plane, they load Indy on there, and they begin to travel towards... It's really rainy, and they're going to head towards the eye of the storm.
Well, yeah, and Voller set this to take it back to...
1930 something or other.
Whatever, before...
Hitler invaded Poland.
Yeah, before Hitler invaded Poland. Sometime before then, so we can get rid of him before he became really, really popular, and then take over, and then he could take over leading the Nazi party.
Forgive me if I don't know my history, guys.
The dates are a bit sketchy for us.
The dates are a little dodgy.
Wait a minute. He plans to go back to 1939.
Okay, 39.
Yeah.
Yes, so...
Yep.
So he plans on going back there to assassinate Hitler and stuff like that.
And then take his place.
Anyway, so Teddy gets on a smaller plane to get to and follow them to the along, obviously. And Helen gets onto a motorcycle and goes onto the big boat. Plane, obviously.
Teddy does know how to fly an airplane only in theory because someone told him how to do it and what sort of controls were involved and everything. He's being shown on land by some guy.
Yeah,
and,
a drunk pilot.
By a pilot guy. So he knew the basics, but he'd never actually flown a plane. And for a little kiddie, he did pretty damn good.
Yeah, a lot of people have commented that Teddy reminds them of Anakin Skywalker, the whole thing.
Or Short Round.
Or something. Oh, yeah, and his backstory is very dead-on similar to Short Round, where he picked Helen Shaw's pocket and instead of... they became good friends, or fast friends. Anyway,
we go through this time fisher.
So they head towards the eye of the storm, but then Indy notices something that doesn't seem to be bring true.
No, something comes to his. Something comes to Indiana Jones' mind. He thinks, Archimedes would not be aware of continental drift, so the calculations might be out.
Yeah.
That's all he said.
Yeah.
And he couldn't convince this German guy, Voller, about this. And he said, no, everything's cool.
Yeah.
And the problem is, it was worse than that, wasn't it? What happened?
Well, interesting thing. He tries to tell them what he knows, but unfortunately they didn't listen.
They said that.
And they shove him aside thinking these knows rubbish.
Yes, I said that.
They head towards the eye of the storm, and we watch them head inside a bit of a wormhole. And then
a bit like a wormhole.
And soon they arrive... on the other side. And they all
great.
think, yay, we got to the place and stuff like that. And they recognize it was Sicily. But fortunately, if you look down on the ground, on the waters, you'll see ancient...
Roman galleys, or whatever we call them. They're warships, whatever they're called.
Yeah, and this is where they realize, oh crap, we are in the wrong decade.
Wrong millennium.
Yeah, a few centuries before Hitler was even born.
A few?
Well, maybe a few
centuries, but 20 centuries.
Okay, 20 centuries.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they have miscalculated or something.
Big time.
Anyway, so they begin firing at the people. They kind of were. They were also firing their own.
They had their own firearms. They were machine guns, but the Romans and other people down there start firing these big catapult spears up there at the plane and really doing some damage.
Yeah, Archimedes, this is Archimedes' time.
Yeah, his time at 212 BC. Yeah.
Around the time he's putting the pieces of his own dial together, and he wants to see what's happening.
So there's a big dragon outside flying through the sky, and he goes out to look at it.
Yeah.
And he knows straight away, this ain't no dragon. That looks like a machine to me.
Yes.
And he goes looking to see what's going on here. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, soon enough, the plane starts going out of control because it gets speared by those very big, pointy spears from the and they try to shoot at the Roman soldiers as much as they could. Of course, what's the point in doing that? Because they are not there to fight them there and stuff like that. But then again, they think this guy is either a dragon or they could be a demon. Yeah.
But I think it's more of a dragon. Yeah.
Anyway, Helen quickly helps Indy, and they both get rid of all the soldiers who get sort of ejected from the plane.
Yeah. Get out. Yeah.
And Indy and Helen quickly try to get off the plane themselves. It's going to crash, and Void tries to grab the parachute off Indy, but Helen shoots Void, and Indy and Helen, they quickly take the parachute and parachute themselves out of the plane. Of course, Void and his mates, they are done for, and they crash their plane. And this is where, Archimedes arrives there, sees the damaged plane, and he sees Void's pocket watch. I mean, his wristwatch. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying pocket watch.
A pocket watch is a round little fob watch, okay?
I know, but I get used to seeing as in Indiana Jones, they seem to be always shoving pocket watches around.
It's a wristwatch.
So wristwatch anyway. So he actually takes it off Void's wrist, and he also notices the dial amongst the wreckage, and he realizes, oh my gosh,
my
it
thing works. And then he asks Indiana Jones in ancient Greek, how far have you come? And he said 2,000 years.
Ooh.
Wow. Shit,
of course,
it works. Wow.
Indy, soon enough, Teddy arrives. The pilot, there was another pilot inside the cockpit with him who
was asleep in the back when he took off, so handy.
So they land there, and Helen wants them to leave because the portal to the wormhole that's going to take them back home might close. But Indy wants to stay
because he got nothing to go back to because his marriage is shit.
Yeah.
His son's dead, blah, blah. And he wants to live the history down here and just be part of it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Anyway, she tries to explain to him that there is no modern medicine here.
Yeah. Leeches won't save you.
Yeah. And they don't know anything about removing a bullet. Not that I'm aware of, not the proper way.
They wouldn't know what a bullet is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, sure, they could probably some of them may know how to but then again, as I said, most of their stuff back then was very basic. Yes. And not too many people did incisions or opening up skin wounds, stuff like that.
Well, they wouldn't know what a bullet was. Okay, they wouldn't know what sort of damage had been done inside. They wouldn't have X-rays or oscilloscopes or anything like that.
Anyway, Archimedes hands them the dial, and Indy is knocked out conscious by Helen, and we soon arrive back to the 1960s. And Indy is patched up. We see the dial next to his bed, along with a spear. I guess maybe Helen probably brought it back with them as a bit of a trophy.
Oh, the one that got in the airplane.
Yeah. Anyway, Helen's there and tells Indy that if I let you stay there, you might alter history.
And that couldn't be allowed to happen. She wouldn't let that happen. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so and soon enough, who arrives with Teddy after shopping? Marion, as it turns out. She has come to tend to Indy and probably look after the shopping here and there.
There's no food in the cupboard.
Is taken aback because he thought for a while when he was there that why would he need to be here, because no one's here for him anymore. And it turns out Marion is there for him, and also Sala and his grandkids come to visit, and of course they depart along with Helen and Teddy. They let Indy and Marion alone for a bit, where we sort of reconstruct the Raiders romantic moment they had years ago, where she does the where does it hurt, yada 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 stuff.
Which they've done before.
Then as they kiss, we then cross outside, and then we see Indy's hat, and we go for a bit of a black fade out sort of circle shot.
Blah, blah.
And we see Indy grab his hat.
Yes, just for it, the zooms out. Yeah, whatever.
Then we cut to the credits. The best thing I can ever think of in the movie.
It was not. Okay.
Well, that's the movie, and I'm glad I reviewed it.
I think it's a good movie. However, I look at some of the critics, and I sort of agree with them to a certain degree. In this instance, only that it's not quite. It hasn't had the same feel as to the earlier movies when there was a bit more action.
It seemed to have more chase scenes instead of other stuff.
Yeah, they felt a bit more chase scenes and that sort of stuff, and a bit of more that sort of stuff, but. I mean, they had things like in the Temple of Doom. They had things there they had to escape from, and the Raiders of the Lost Ark had sort of things you get escaping from, and even the Crystal Skull had things they had to escape from, and this didn't have that sort of stuff in it.
No, it felt like it's pretty lost on me, folks.
Well, it's more of just like an action hero sort of thing, running around and people chasing them and stuff. It's not a bad movie, but it could have been just a tad better. However, having said that, I think Harrison Ford covers the role reasonably adequate for a guy who, even in the movie, he's supposed to be an old man. He's supposed to be about 70 probably, or late 60s. He's retiring from his job, so he must be getting pretty old. So he wouldn't expect him to be the same as a 40-year-old.
I know. I figured that.
So,
I mean,
but he held his own, I'm pretty sure.
It would have been cool if Indy did stay with Archimedes. He may even become an alchemist or whatever. Considering he knows history, he may not even alter history for
He might just top
He
along
may
a
help
bit.
along. He may even help Archimedes to...
You're supposed to do this now. Oh, really? Yeah, really?
Yeah, or even advise his followers after Archimedes kicks the bucket to divide the thing and hide it away. So future generations will find it.
Interesting. Anyway.
I mean, I did think the little Easter eggs, like the pocket, the wristwatch, and the airplane with the Phoenix with the airplane wings,
the propellers.
The propeller wings, were sort of, I guess, it could have taken place when Archimedes died. You know, when there was a war that was happening when Archimedes passed away.
He could not have died during that war because he hadn't built his little thing yet.
Yes.
He had to still finish it and build it. So whether he died a couple of months later or a couple of years later, he didn't die just then. Okay.
It may have taken, sieges, Mike. It may take weeks for them to invade a city.
Oh, well, the 100 Years' War. Actually, 100 Years' War didn't last 100 years, no, don't you?
Anyway, so I kind of think it was kind of cool that Indy got to see one of his idols. I'm not sure if it's
Archimedes, would have been.
I mean, such a interesting moment. I mean, Indy experiencing actual history, even when you're looking at Indy, that's experiencing history, even though we all know it's all fantasy, right, Mike? The whole Indiana Jones the things he gets up to.
Yeah. You're getting into a different topic now. But look, basically, the Raiders of the Lost Ark was about the Ark of the Covenant, part of Judeo-Christian faith, okay?
Right.
The Temple of Doom was based on a faith object for the Indian people.
True.
Okay, well, Tibetan people or whatever. The Last Crusade was based on the chalice that's supposed to be used for Last Supper and or catch the blood of Christ at the cross.
I know.
So these are all...
I know, Mike.
No, real thing, but the crystal skull came along, and that wasn't quite so, because they found something like that, and they found out it was a fake, which has, to me, destroyed the trilogy by putting this fourth movie in here, which isn't really an archaeological artifact.
Mike. I figured that, Mike. I'm just saying that all the things that in between, when Indy gets items to connect to finding the major, artifact, is most of the things like him meeting tribesmen who try to kill him with arrows and stuff. All that stuff is all fantasy based, because when you think about it, I actually attended an archaeology dig, and it wasn't like what people make out. You're mostly digging in the ground, you're using hand tools, stuff
now
like that.
I'm with you, but
and
wait a minute.
It's not like heading into a tomb and then all of a sudden you get a boulder chasing after you.
Wait a minute. Now you're only going by your personal experience. When we went to an archaeological dig in a civilized area. Some of these sites they go to aren't in civilised areas.
I know.
Okay, they're in jungle areas. They've got natives there. They have snakes. They've got spiders. They're in jungle. Yeah, they've got wild animals. It's not always a road access to where they've got to go to.
I know, Mike. I'm just meaning that they just drop in the old fantasy adventure things to make it look more interesting. If it was just a simple, we found it under a bunch of rubble, then there's no story behind it.
Exactly.
I mean,
we found it in a bazaar. Hey, really good. Hey, we picked up $100. Wow, great. Let's go back to the museum. Finished?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Also, the part as I said before about the dial, where they said it comes in 2 parts. This is nothing new in movies. I've seen several movies that deal with you have 2 parts of something. You have to find. You get the first one, which is pretty much in their possession, and now you have to go all across the world to try to find the second half of it. It's nothing new because that's been done several times.
Yeah, like a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
A bit like National, what's the one?
Natural Treasures and...
No, the movie with, what's it, Nicolas Cage.
That is Natural
Treasure, what it's called, yeah. What it's called. Yeah, and he had to find a clue there, and a clue there, and a clue there, and a clue there, and a clue there, yeah.
As I said before, it also makes me think of Tomb Raider, where in that one, they had to find a special triangle device that would take them back to the past. Very similar when you think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Meaning they haven't even bothered to actually try to find something that's different. They seem to think that they don't think outside the box, some of these writers. Well, that's the problem.
Well, it's all been done.
It's been done. I mean, that's the issue. I mean, if they don't think of something outside the box, we're going to be running out of ideas soon.
I had an idea for a movie the other day. I was thinking about, and it's been done.
What's that?
The 4D Man. You haven't heard that one, have you? No. I think Robert Lansing was in it. It's a really good old movie where the guy experiments with a device to pass matter through matter. And it goes wrong. He's able to walk through matter. But he can be also solid, so he can walk through, come out the other side and grab you and kill you, whatever, and take something. And whatever he grabs, he can take with him.
Well, what's that matter?
No, the point is, it went great, but I thought, I can make a movie. And I thought, oh, no, I can't. It's been done.
As I said before, what is matter? Never mind. What is never mind? Never matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, look, I'm not going to go too much into the reviewers at the moment because it's still a bit young.
Yeah.
But the general consensus is they like it, but it could be a fraction better because everyone's comparing it to the original trilogy.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm disagreeing with it too much, but I just didn't like the fact that I know that Indy's older, and almost a lot of people are obsessed with people being aged a lot in these movies. They seem to always think, oh, let's bring back another one and just see how it goes. But then
can you imagine bringing out if Sean Connery... Is Sean Connery still alive?
No, he passed away.
Okay. Now, Sean Connery... So let's do a James Bond movie and get Sean Connery and put him in a James Bond, put him in a tuxedo and wheel him out in his wheelchair. It wouldn't have the same impact, would it?
No, it wouldn't. It would just... I mean... I understand what people want. They want to relive the experience they did back when they were children, over and over.
Mom watch the old movie.
But you might as well just watch the old movies and let your own fantasies take over to what happens next.
Yeah, I do.
Let your own imaginations of filling in the blanks of what happens next. Does Indy encounter any other special artifacts? Like, does he ever find the Excalibur? Which I've seen several fan films out there, and they all done this, explore different types of special mythology stuff. Oh, that's another thing in this movie. When after everything Indy's been through, he continues to not to believe in magic or superstitions, even after experiencing it firsthand for himself.
Well, he thinks more of a time machine, that's not magic. Anyway, doesn't matter.
I mean, how else will you explain the magic of the universe? Not that that matters too much.
We won't go there.
It's just that, well, he thinks that that he never even explains how did this happen with the Ark. How does the part with the his father reviving after being getting better after using the Holy Grail?
Meeting the old knight guy who was several hundred years old.
Yes. How will you explain all that and more, folks? And especially how those...
He's still skeptical, isn't he?
And the special stones that from Temple of Doom, where they can make an area fertile.
Fertile, yeah.
Fertile again.
You said futile, didn't you?
Not futile, I mean fertile.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, guys. It's the tonguing.
And anyway, you're just breaking it in your tongue, are you? Okay, right. Yeah.
So, let's rate this now.
I'm going to give it 9.5.
I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10
So I knew
myself.
she would. You know how she started off tonight? Yeah.
Well, I have issues with this movie, guys. I mean, normally I never get ishy about a movie like this, but when it comes to a movie that Catherine Kennedy gets her fingers into, it makes it difficult to love it. Because it seems that they were trying too hard, the people who directed and wrote it. They were trying to use every single old Indiana Jones film as their pothole.
What?
The pitfalls on the stuff, the holes made Indiana Jones. They tried to copy the old stuff. They tried to use his old work to better than them.
Yes, that happens.
Instead of using their imaginations or
create a new story,
or the executives, George and Steven Spielberg, could have at least put their finger in and say, do it this way, it's a lot more better, or something like that. It sounds more Indiana Jones if you do it this way. But then again, we also have to forget that Indy is gotten older, and I feel like sometimes, do we really want to see Indy getting older? Shouldn't we look at our heroes?
Should have killed him off. No.
I would have loved it if Indy didn't have to make another one, because I feel like we're treading on water, because we don't want to see an aging Indy, because people don't want him in a wheelchair.
It's like an old Tarzan movie. You wouldn't want to see the last Tarzan movie with Tarzan getting a bit old and can't quite hack it, and he gets eaten by a crocodile. No.
That's what I mean, guys. I mean, I think I'm not the only one, because a lot of people didn't like Indy getting older. And while in Crystal Skulls he was older there, and people were trying to make out he's lost the plot there. But I felt that story had a little bit, even moving the alien UFO stuff aside, putting that aside for a minute, I thought that movie was an okay movie.
But not an Indiana Jones type movie?
Well,
because obviously you had sci-fi and stuff thrown in, and he's an archaeologist.
Just take that out of the equation for a minute, guys.
Yeah.
It was an okay movie because they brought back Marion, and Indy had a son. And I didn't like the fact in this one they killed off the son. They could have brought him back and tried to make out he was a different actor or something like that. I have no problem if the other actor doesn't want to come back because he's tired of doing that role.
Anyway.
I mean, it seems to happen sometimes in movies when an actor doesn't want to return because they don't want to be typecast or something. It does happen in real life. Anyway, I just feel like Dial of Destiny, I was hoping it would bring me back to something that will challenge me, but I feel like I'm not challenged by this one, and I hate I just hate being a troll about this. I can't really find anything good about it. Sorry, guys.
She's hard to please.
I mean, other people have pleased me with their fan films because they know exactly what to do with it. I mean, and with fan films, you can take it in any direction you want. But when it comes to a movie that's done by a different director who adds his own take on the film, it makes it no longer. It's not an Indian film. It's not an Indiana Jones film. It's someone else's film.
Yep.
It's not. That's all I can say. Anyway, that's about it from us. So, do you have anything to add, Mike?
Can't think of anything. Look, I think it's a good movie. I mean, I like the Crystal Skull one, but I didn't like the fact that they jammed this fake artifact in there, which is proven to be a fake artifact, and brought sci-fi, aliens in it and stuff. And you're going, wait a minute, it's a standalone movie, yeah, but not Indiana Jones. This is bringing it back to an archaeological relic, the archaeologist or whatever it's called. And that's a real item that's been found at an archaeological site, which in a sunken boat or something. So they brought it back to that, and it's actually in a museum. You can actually go and see it, and the reconstruction what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, they also has this sort of the real spear. Just the spear anyway that resembles the one from Indiana Jones. I don't know if it's the real one that pierced Jesus' side. I don't think it is. It couldn't be because there's no way of anyone.
A soldier went along there and stood him aside and walked off.
Yeah, and the spear may have been dropped.
But why would he have kept it? He's just one of many in the armory. It's just, keep this. I stabbed that rebel rabbi guy, and they didn't believe him anyway. So they kept the spear. So I don't think so.
And as Mike would point out to you, it's not. There's nothing magical significant about it.
No, and the Roman soldier would have just taken about the armory and put it up there for all the other ones.
Yeah, cleaned it off, and that's it.
Well, I think so.
Yeah, and no one even know be the wiser on which one was which.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. So who knows? Yeah.
Anyway,
you want to kill it?
Yeah, might as well.
There's nothing more
to say about this movie.
It's a good movie. Do not get me wrong.
Yeah. And I should have said this at the beginning, guys. If you already haven't seen the movie, then I advise.
Well, it's a newie, so
do not listen to us about the trolling.
Go and see Troll. No problem.
See it for yourself. Let us know in the comments what you guys think of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
There's more chase scenes, and there's no. Was there any booby traps?
Let me think.
I don't recall.
There was bugs. Bugs.
And
there was eels.
But there wasn't any booby traps.
No, I wouldn't say if there was any booby traps, except for that bit with the when they had to try to find the entrance into the tomb itself. Aside from that, there is not so much. There
wasn't much involved in it. You go, And I like the booby traps now. He uses his. I got to figure this one out. I don't want to go there. I'll try that. That worked. It's none of that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
How would you get through it, folks? Not just walk in there and say, okay, then there's the exit over there, walk out the door. No, it made it a bit easy for him, bit too easy.
I mean, I remember in Crystal Skulls that they did some interesting things in that one, where they had to try to find the entrance to the tomb and stuff like that, and they had to avoid the natives anyway, but it was kind of fun in that one, even though it dabbled with sci-fi stuff. But other than that, I thought the rest of the stuff was pretty cool, and I liked the message that movie conveyed. That knowledge was a treasure. And stuff like
exactly.
That. Unlike this one, who has its messages: do not take things for granted.
Whatever. Anyway, want to kill it?
Anyway, so that's it from us, guys. I hope you guys check it out and let us know in the comments what you guys think of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
I'd like to see in a couple of months' time how much money it actually makes at the theatre.
Me too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's it from us. So be sure to check it out and let us know in the comments. Yeah. And so this is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
And we'll see you guys next time on Boys and Ghouls Film Review. Bye from now.
Bye.